Hello everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast is part of the Squorm N Paxhydermatous. This audio podcast is part of the Besieged Squad. This audio podcast is part of a Storm Robotics production. And as part of this audio podcast, looking at going through an overview of or reflection or contemplations in around an IPNA webinar, that had taken place, and so it was intriguing to have listened in on this this particular IPNA webinar, where speakers and presenters discussed in around a theme and data and sort of data in pertaining to preventing or precluding kidney disease across lifespan from birth to childhood. The interactive webinar invited speakers and presenters to highlight elements surrounding early detection and proactive kidney care. The speakers and presenters were in around from pediatric kidney care specialties, and specifically where the topics through the webinar had covered neonatal programming and its effects on long-term kidney outcomes, and additionally in around pediatric origins of congenital anomalies of the kidney and urinary tract, and then the transition from acute kidney injury to chronic kidney disease in neonates. So the presentation that took place, one of the presentations that took place, had been in around where a speaker or presenter had looked at neonatal programming and its impact on long-term kidney outcomes, focused on the scientific foundation, including including what had been referred to as as part of the Barker hypotheses from in around the 1980s, and additionally in around looking at some of the in around as part of the data, as part of the Barker hypotheses that had been published in a Lancet series, and where there was some preliminary trial data that had been published in around the Barker hypotheses, and the basis of additionally of why these frameworks why these frameworks had substantiation, and particularly in and why firstly where in and why and firstly where there were measurable endpoints in children and young people, and then secondly also in around reversibility declines after 2 years of age, and then additionally from that the World Health Organization global sort of nutritional targets, and as part of the Barker hypotheses. The sort of frameworks had the important evidence base surrounding stunting and cognitive outcomes from in around as part of the data that had been published in around that time in around the aspects pertaining to the part of the Barker hypotheses. The speaker then there was a sort of an overview in around congenital anomalies, and congenital anomalies, and the speaker and presenter talked about different exposures from preterm birth, preterm birth, and NICU course, and AKI, acute kidney injury, and childhood adolescence. The congenital anomalies prenatal phase focuses on impaired uteric bud branching, and the preterm birth phases focus on premature cessation and defective nephrogenesis, and that is where there is a lack of development of the functional components of the kidney, being the nephrons. The NICU, and then the NICU phase, as there was where the speaker and presenter sort of informed on the link between where the NICU phase was a link between the preterm and defective nephrogenesis, and leading into acute kidney injury, and leading into acute kidney injury, being the maladaptive repair. And then finally, where the acute kidney injury phase leads into childhood and adolescent phase, which is where the etiology relates hyperfiltration, hypertrophy, and scarring of residual nephrons or glomeruli. Within the different phases, the speaker and presenter talked about different exposures from adverse intrauterine to adverse neonatal environment, and acute kidney injury associated factors, and then the childhood associated factors respectively. Then there was an overview in where the speaker and presenter talked about, or informed in and around pertaining to kidney anomalies versus urinary tract anomalies. One of the main points was in around the understandings relating to the importance of pediatric physicians understanding etiology and phenotype corrections. Understanding etiology and phenotype correlations. In addition, the speaker and presenter sort of informed of that there have been limited interlinks of epigenetics with developmental biology. The overview on acute kidney injury and prematurity, and low and long-term risk of CKD, for example, and practical ways to implement in neonatal care and follow-up was also informative and detailed. The speaker and presenter also informed of on the elements of natural cause of neonatal acute kidney injury, along with the risk factors, mitigation strategies, and the role of acute kidney injury on short and long-term outcomes. The speaker also highlighted how progress had been made in identifying potential preventative strategies for acute kidney injury in neonatal care, and in neonatal care and the preterm phases. Then relating to the speaker's overview, then relating to additionally in around one of the speakers presenter overview was in around the a publication that focuses on biomarkers such as the urinary neutrophil gelatinase associated lipocalin, and other new sort of technologies, such as monitoring of renal tissue oxygenation and nephrogenesis. Biomarkers. The speaker and presenter informed that biomarkers will become more important and likely to have an increased responsibility in determining acute kidney injury and or chronic kidney disease. And there is there one of the publications is works is that one of the publications that have been identified aligned to where this one where the speaker presenter highlighted in around the biomarkers biomarkers and other new technologies in around in around in around determining, for example, acute kidney injury and or chronic kidney disease is and where that publication where a publication had been identified will be placed on social media. So any listeners and viewers can check out that particular publication for any additional sort of insights for and around this particular aspect. So overall, it was a really informative webinar that the speakers and presenters highlighted in around looking at preventing kidney disease across lifespan and from birth to childhood, and the there was the opportunity to attain updates from some fantastic speakers and presenters, and and so following from this particular IPNA webinar, it'll be intriguing to see or sort of get an understanding where the different speakers and presenters will look to present some sort of further insights sort of prospectively, and ultimately, one of the sort of bases in around from this webinar is and where would be ultimately intriguing to see what sort of works follow, and where students and practitioners across specialisms can learn from. That draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast is part of the Squorm N Paxhydermatous. This audio podcast is part of the Besieged Squad, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Robotics production.